Okay, so today I'm going to be doing a book haul, something that I have not done in a very long time because over the last, year, holy cow, my subscribers have sent me a lot of books and I'm good. I'm good for a couple of years. So I haven't really been buying myself very many books lately, but every now and then there's a book that comes up that I want to read, so I buy it. And this is the haul of books that I have bought over the last 3 months all by myself. And I'm going to share them with you. I guess now that the P.O. box is closed, I won't be receiving any books from anyone anymore. We may do seasonal book hauls again for the, few books that I pick up here and there. First book on my list is Mr. HOA, which I'm pretty sure is actually a self-pub book. My friend Shelly has a Bookstagram account where she reviews books over on Instagram. I'll link her in the description if you want to check her out. You should. I totally trust her judgment on books in general, but romance especially. Romance is a genre that I don't read very often, but she and I, anytime I pick up a book on her recommendation or she picks up a romance on my recommendation, we seem to agree. And since I'm so picky with this genre, when she pitches a book, a romance book, that actually the plot looks interesting and she says 5 stars, I trust her. So I bought this. I have not read it yet. I actually haven't read any of these books that I've bought in the last couple of months, but I haven't read it yet. And I'm just saving it for when I'm in the mood for a romance. This will probably be the first one that I pick up because I trust her. You should too. Go follow her account. Next book I picked up, some of you have been very irritated with me that I haven't actually read it yet, and that's Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. So Joe Abercrombie wrote the First Law trilogy, which is somewhere on my shelves, right about there. One of my top favorite series of all time. I love it so much. I have so few complaints about it as a whole. I think that Joe Abercrombie wrote, I still don't think I say his name right. I think that he couldn't have written it better. It's phenomenal. I have been meaning to read the standalones for so long, and lately, for like the last month or two, I've been wanting to read this. This is the first standalone in a series of standalones in the same world that the First Law is set in. Joe Abercrombie, he has the most realistic, followable characters who are very morally gray or simply bad, and you still want them to win. He has these rich worlds, even though world building isn't his top priority. In his stories, they're still so tangible. And at least in the trilogy, the plot may not be the main focus, but the execution of it is so satisfying. And on top of it all, he has some of the best prose I've ever read. And I've been reading a lot of books with lackluster prose lately, and I'm craving some of Joe's prose. So I'm gonna read them soon. It's happening. Next is Cinderella is Dead. I don't know if this is going to be a book that I'm going to like, but it's a book that's gotten a lot of hype here on BookTube recently. I don't know a lot about it. It's a dark Cinderella retelling. I really enjoy retellings, especially retellings of stories that I grew up loving. I don't know why. It's just something that I don't really get tired of. I haven't been in the mood for something that's a retelling lately, so I haven't picked it up yet, but it is high on my list. Like, whenever I'm in that mood, I plan on reading this because it is a subgenre that I tend to love, and since this one's getting so much hype, I really hope that I'm gonna love it too. Then we have Clap When You Land. This is a YA literary fiction, I'm pretty sure. I don't know much about it at all. I know it's about 2 girls who come from really hard backgrounds, and there's a lot going on in their lives. They're dealing with a lot of emotional stuff, and their stories converge somehow, probably on a plane. I don't know much about this, but it has also been getting a ton of positive reviews. And literary fiction, even though fantasy is probably my most read genre, literary fiction is my favorite genre. I just don't read it as much because those books, as much as I love them and as much as they stick with me, take a lot out of me. So I take long breaks between them, but this is high on my list that I really want to read very, very soon. I have 2 Neil Gaiman books that I just got in the mail. Snow Glass Apples. What? Yep, that's what it says. Snow Glass Apples, which a commenter told me about after I finished The Sleeper and the Spindle, which I adored. And they said, hey, he has another retelling that's illustrated, that's similar, and it's called Snow Glass Apple. So I bought it because I had to. I also got A Study in Immerland, which I think is a Sherlock-esque. Actually, this one might be a comic. Yep, Sherlock-esque comic. I have a hard time getting into mysteries. I think if anyone could get me there, it'd be Gaiman, one of my favorite authors. So I want to read this. Even though comics aren't my go-to, Gaiman is, so we'll read it. I have 2 books still in the mail that haven't arrived yet. One is The Daughters of Neri. I'm not entirely sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. When I read it, I will know how to say it. This is one, again, I'm very nervous that I'm not going to love. I have wanted to buy this book since before it was released, because the cover is so gorgeous. And the premise of it sounds really interesting too. It is a young adult fantasy, and I read young adult books. I primarily read adult, but I do read young adult and I enjoy young adult. But fantasy, I pretty much exclusively read adult fantasy because young adult and adult fantasy are very different, and that's just it's what I tend to enjoy more. So I am nervous because I don't read very much young adult fantasy very often, because they tend to be a lot more focused on relationship dynamics, not exclusively romance, but just in general relationship dynamics, coming of age. And with fantasy, I tend to want more epic like worlds and magic systems along with those things. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous about this one, but I really want to try it because it does sound so interesting and because the cover's gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of it has to do with the cover. Also, the sequel has recently come out, or is about to come out, so I can read them back to back if I want to. I don't know, man. I'm really excited about it. And the other book that I have bought but hasn't come in the mail yet is Jade City. I don't know anything about this. All I know is when Daniel finished book 2, Jade War, he sent me a very long message telling me that it was one of the best books he's read in a very long time, and I need to read it now. So I ordered book 1. I will give it a try because we usually have similar taste in fantasy. Not always, but usually. So I trust his recommendation. So those are all the books that I picked up in the last 3 months. Be sure to chat with me more about these in the comments. Are there any books on this list that you've read? Should I read them? Hype me up for them. Are there any that you plan on picking up? I post videos every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I'll see you guys again soon.